Hello, welcome to my YouTube video. My name is Alondra and I'm going to be talking about my June favorites and everything that I enjoyed this month along with the media that I consumed. So let's get into it. I'm going to be drinking a passion fruit tangerine social tonic. These are super tasty. The strawberry guava and now the passion fruit tangerine are my favorite flavors. Delicious. Came prepared with my notes, so this is what I'll be referencing. Cyborg Tree was the first movie that I saw. It's a Japanese sci-fi comedy movie, and it's so playful. This movie is about a lonely university student who falls in love with this mysterious woman, but she's actually a cyborg from the future sent back in time to save his life. Very well-rounded movie. Honestly, in the beginning it's a little slow, but it's playful, so it's enough to keep you engaged, and I really enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for romantic movies, and the blend of romance, comedy, and sci-fi in one movie made this movie very enjoyable for me. So the second movie that I saw was Happy End, and this is a coming-of-age Japanese film that takes place in the near future Japan, where they are under increasing surveillance. It talks about several themes such as surveillance, youth resistance, social control, and also the uncertainty of fear of what does life look like for them as individuals outside of high school, because right now they're all just kind of having such a fun time and goofing around and just rebelling amongst each other. I really enjoyed the style that this movie was shot in. It was very aesthetic, had a lot of great shots, and honestly, it's almost like nothing happened, but something happened, So this movie was a bit slow. I felt like I was also a character within that movie, kind of like a bystander. I enjoyed that movie for that reason, because it was slow, but it was still had its exciting moments. I think it also just shows the playfulness of high schoolers and what high school can be like if you just don't take it so seriously and you just be a kid and have fun with your classmates. In high school, for the most part, you really just have your friends, and being close with your friends is something really beautiful because you guys can experience so many things together and you can just have fun. And I think when you guys are all on the same page of how you guys want to move forward and the things that you guys want to do, it makes it just that more enjoyable and exciting. So Linda, Linda, Linda is a movie about 4 girls who form a band to participate in their school's festival, and it's so wholesome, it's so sweet, and I just fell in love with it, honestly. I love the warmth that this movie brought, the innocence, and just what it means to try something and do it. They'll have their own lives, but they come together for this one thing, and it's to perform a cover of a song. I think the perseverance between the 4 girls was really beautiful to see, and for that reason I really enjoyed how sweet this movie was. It's a coming-of-age movie, so there's a bit of comedy in there. It's truly such a slice of life type of movie that I really enjoyed. It felt so intimate at times too. The 4th movie that I saw was Sound of Metal, and it's a movie about a heavy metal band drummer who suddenly loses his hearing and has to navigate this new sense of identity through the deaf community. The major themes of this movie is identity, acceptance, silence, grief, and transformation. I think this movie was told in a way to make you experience the same emotions that the main character was feeling. As much of a surprise it is to him, it is to us as well. I thought the silence in this movie was very intentional. I feel like it wasn't overdone, and the lack of sound and music in the movie too really adds to putting yourself in the perspective or putting yourself in his shoes. I really enjoyed this movie more than I had expected. This movie had been on my watch list for such a long time, and I'm happy that I ended up watching the movie, because I actually watched this movie after I read my second book that I read this month, which was Silence in the Age of Noise, and it explores the importance of silence and stillness in a very noisy and overstimulated world. And having read this book first and then watched Sound of Metal was a very interesting dynamic, because in Silence in the Age of Noise, the author, he talks about how silence is a luxury, and how eventually silence isn't only just about there being no sound at all, but it's saying that silence is also internal. He's an explorer, so it talks about all the many ways that he found stillness in his explorations. And I enjoyed this book because usually when I read, I always like to have some type of background noise. Just honestly, anything. As soon as I wake up, I like to turn the music on. I want to fill my day with it. But when I started to read this book, I was like, you know what? Like, let me just challenge myself and not play any type of music. Like, not even like soft jazz music, anything ambient. I was like, let me just be in complete silence in my apartment. So that's what I did. It only took me a few hours to read it, but I was reading it in silence, and it was very interesting at first. You hear the cars drive by, you hear the trees and the leaves. So I like that I kind of put myself up for a little challenge, a way to honor the silence that the author was talking about. At first it was uncomfortable, but as I kept reading, I didn't even pay attention to the silence. I feel like I just ended up becoming one with the silence. This book also talks about how when you really sit with your internal silence, you tend to figure out more about yourself. What I'm really going to take away from this book is how I can practice mindfulness and stillness in my life and my day-to-day routine, and explore what it means to be still in my life. So it was really interesting to read Silence in the Age of Noise first, and then watching the movie Sound of Metal, because I think in Silence in the Age of Noise, it really just shows how many people fear silence because it allows for our thoughts to come to surface. And I think that kind of relates to Sound of Metal, with how our inner turmoil or inner thoughts are just as loud as the chaotic world. And although it's a sensory deprivation in Sound of Metal, it's still showing silence as transformation instead of absence. And ultimately, it's just learning how to be present in both situations. But I think there's a bit of similarity, because it's about finding that inner stillness, finding peace. The connection between this book and the movie is that the author is able to find daily stillness through his practice, but in Sound of Metal, he was able to find inner stillness as well at the end of the movie. It was once he came to accepting everything that had happened, and he sits in that silence, and that's the stillness that he's able to control. The second book that I read was We by Yevgeny Zamayektin. He's a Russian author, and he wrote this science fiction novel in the 1920s, and this novel actually inspired George Orwell's 1984 and inspired Brave New World. This book talks about totalitarianism, individuality, freedom, conformity, and also reason versus emotion. It is about a mathematician who lives in a totalitarian state, and he begins questioning society after falling in love with a rebellious woman. What I liked about this book is that it was actually a little bit more romantic than I had expected. Like, he was yearning for this rebellious woman because he finally was like awakened and from this perfect world that he was living in because of her, and that mixed with just probably just being naturally attracted to her just made the yearning more powerful. He just always wanted to be with her because I think there was always more he wanted to learn and explore. If you're into sci-fi and dystopian societies, I would recommend this book. I think you would enjoy it. It's told through a series of diary entries. I like that they're told from the perspective of diary entries because it just feels that much more personal, and it just feels like we are experiencing these emotions with him. But he writes them down as much as he can remember, and they're told with a sense of urgency and confusion. You can feel the sudden change in pace in the book and how things are evolving. Interestingly enough, this book talks about rebelling. It ties in with Happy End also, surprisingly, because it talks about surveillance. In We, they're being constantly surveillance. They have so many rules to be surveillance, and in Happy End, they're a society that's moving towards gradual surveillance. It just shows how systems of surveillance shape everyday life. It also shows how individuals are searching for identity within these restrictive environments. How like you're born thinking you have to follow this type of identity and soon realize that you don't have to live like this. It kind of has like that breakthrough of we shouldn't be living like this. Like, I am my own person, and like knowing that breakthrough. So it's like developing that sense of identity in a super surveillance society versus in Happy End, like they're still very young kids and they're still developing their own identities, but even more so in a time of being constantly surveilled. They're trying to show like who they want to be during this time and how they don't want to conform to being constantly surveilled. Searching for identity within restrictive societies, I think, proves how authenticity is super important for each person. I thought it was interesting that the books that I read and the movies that I watched had some correlation within each other. Now I'm going to be talking about some things that I purchased. I knew that when June started, I wanted to have a more summery perfume. I ended up getting this one from Glossier. It smells like you're on vacation, and that's kind of exactly the type of vibe I was going for. These are the notes that the perfume has, and honestly, it feels very light, very fresh, a bit delicate, and that's why I ended up choosing this scent as my scent for the summer. I went to the farmer's market and I ended up stumbling across this ceramic stand, and they just had the most beautiful vase I've ever seen. I really enjoyed this one because it looks like the moon. Like, I feel like I'm holding the moon right now. Like, I also got these shoes, the Nike Air Rift sneakers. These are just perfect for the summer. They look very breathable. They're very comfortable. They're super pretty. I'm really happy with these. I see myself wearing these a lot during the summer, and I've really been enjoying them. Something that I've also been enjoying a lot were these ceramic magnets that I bought from Etsy. I ended up doing the magnetic DIY board with like the IKEA frame and everything, and I wanted to look for some really unique and cute magnets. I also ended up buying this watering can. It has such a unique handle and shape to it, but mainly I got it for when I do my ikebana arrangements, just to add the water a little bit more smoothly to the vase. And lastly, I got some rings from a stone store that we have here in town. I was looking for an obsidian ring or onyx, and I think this is obsidian, so that's the first one, the black one. I love how it has like those little like silver details on the side. And then I love pearl rings, so pearl and silver together, that's my favorite combination. So I had to get the one on my ring finger. And then I forgot the name of the stone in the middle, but I thought that one was so pretty because it has like a type of like lace, like a doily lace situation going on, and I think it's so pretty. I've never had a ring like this before. Yeah, I got these 3 rings. They're so pretty. I am such a ring girl. I'm always wearing rings. If I don't wear rings, I feel completely naked. So those are my favorite purchases of the month. Now going down to the things that I created. One of my favorite things that I created was this print. It says, "To create is to live twice." That is a famous quote by Albert Camus. He's a French author. I just love how this print came out. This is inspired by the year of the fire horse and being a Leo. So this is a very personal sign for myself. And then this is the ikebana arrangement that I created for the month of June. I thought the colors were stunning. I love the green and the purple and the magenta. This is one of my favorite outfits that I wore. It's a Old Navy polka dot top with a Uniqlo cotton skirt, and I wore it with my tabby flats, and I think it was very cute and delicate outfit. So now we can talk about the music that I listened to. So I started the month of June with Body Meets Sing by High Posey, and it's an indie art pop album. And this album is what whimsy literally sounds like. This is such a whimsical and playful album that it was the perfect way to start the month of June off with. It feels so experimental. Also, like, I was just like listening to it and I was just like, wow, like I have never heard an album like this. I've never heard a song that sounds like this before. And it was just so refreshing in that sense. And I think if you're into whimsical art pop, indie pop genres, then I would definitely check this album out. You might like it. Pop street sound. This album is a city jazz pop album, but has a bit of funk in there as well. It just reminds me of house music. I felt like I was on a rooftop bar in Mexico City enjoying this album. It was so atmospheric. I've never been to Mexico City, but this album made me feel like I was there in a very local type of way that I enjoyed so much. And it's so fun. This album was a 10 out of 10 for me. Never heard anything like this before, and I really enjoyed it. And I can see myself continuing to listen to this in the month of July as well. Fusao by Fei Huang. This album is so pretty. It's so experimental. This album is dream, art, and alternative pop all in one. Was so magical, so dreamlike, so intimate. I think this is known as one of her more experimental albums, and you can hear it. You can definitely hear it in the songs and in the way she sings. And this is a 10 out of 10 album. Another 10 out of 10 album for me. Another album that I did not stop playing was Cry Baby by Vince Staples. This is an indie alternative album, and I really enjoy Vince Staples' music in general. I think he's a very artistic artist. who really always has messages and plays a lot with symbolism in his albums. Indie and rock are some of my top genres that I really enjoy listening to. So when I found out that Vince Staples was coming out with an indie rock album, I was super intrigued, because I love his work and I love those genres. So I was really excited to see what he was going to put out. And just from the beginning, I was so mesmerized by this album. The continuity between Black Marmalade, White Flag, and Cotton, the artistry is just amazing. It's so well done. Just like the creativity within all of it, the messaging, it's just 10 out of 10. It was so perfect. Cotton actually has a lot of psychedelic influences in there. I was able to hear a little bit of NERD's rock inspiration with some of his songs, along with the White Stripes as well, and just like psychedelic rock, like Jimi Hendrix type of vibes. So like I said, like this album is just so well done. I think the artistry and the symbolism throughout this album adds such a great layer to it. This album did not disappoint, and it was super tasteful. That's like one of my favorite things that artists do, is when they experiment with their sound and they don't stick to genres and they explore what they can put out there in their style in different genres. It's always so refreshing. So I really enjoyed that. The last album that I listened to was Born to Die by Lana Del Rey. I think this is like a very nostalgic type of album for myself. I think in the summer specifically, like, to me, this is what summer sounds like. A few songs that I enjoy was Taipan by Monte Cassino. This song is not long enough, honestly, because it's so short, and it's always like that. It's always like the best songs are always the shortest, and I wish I could have had a little bit more of this song, but I think that's what makes this song so special. That's the charm of it. And this is an indie alternative rock song. It kind of has Caifanes vibes, romantic, and it's a bit vampy as well. So I think that's why I really like this song. I love the lyrics to it too. Following along with another song that is not long enough is Outro. I mean, that makes sense, it's an outro, but Outro, Love in School by BTS. The vocal line really just came through with this song. It's so catchy. It's playing in my head right now, honestly. If you're into like a hip hop and a little bit of like R&B, I think you would enjoy this one. Ready, Able by Grizzly Bear. This song just feels like you're drifting, you know. It's indie folk, art rock, and art pop. It honestly just feels like you're drifting amongst the glitter. I don't know. But to me, that's what it feels like. Hiding in the Melody by Penny Days was actually a new song that I discovered. I have never heard of this band before, but this song is about 8 minutes long. And this is a indie and dream pop genre type of song. And it actually reminded me a lot of Ocean Alley. And if you play this song and then you follow it with First Blush by Ocean Alley, I feel like you can see the similarities that I'm kind of talking about. It's not like a typical genre that I usually listen to, but I did enjoy it. So for that reason, I put it in for the month of June. And I think it was kind of fitting for the type of summer vibes that I was going for. And then See Out Loud by Interpol. This is one of their singles for their upcoming album. And it is a banger. It is 10 out of 10. So good. So good. When this song came out and I was watching the music video, it was done with a lot of high energy. I really enjoyed the lyrics in this song too. I don't know, I just really love the tempo of this song. So this song makes me really excited to see what their album will be like. This is the music that I consumed. These are my favorites for the month of June. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you check out some of these movies, books, songs, and albums. I really enjoy sharing what I consume with you all. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.